All right, everybody, today what I want to do is have a look at indirect object nouns and pronouns. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but does anybody see him up there? I've just kind of randomly been putting him up there. But anyways, he's like a little punk rocker watching us learn Spanish, apparently. So anyways, that's neither here nor there. But today, like I said, what I want to work on are indirect object nouns and pronouns. And how to convert a noun into a pronoun and then put it into a sentence. And so we've got some examples here. But before we get into this, I want to draw your attention to two things. One, our pronoun placement, which is going to be the exact same as our direct object pronouns. And then the indirect object and direct object pronouns themselves, just so you can see some similarities. And then I'll talk a bit about what's going on right here. But let's come over here and have a look. So for pronoun placements, I know we've already talked about it with direct object pronouns, but at the end of the day, it's gonna do the same thing. You're gonna put it in the same places or have the same options essentially as direct object pronouns, indirect object pronouns, and then eventually when we get to reflexive pronouns, it'll be the same place. So they're universal if you want to look at it that way. But nevertheless, I thought it'd be worth it to put it up here just as a bit of a reminder, just to reinforce as well. And so in terms of placement, we have, it can go before the conjugated verb. So that's a verb that has been conjugated to agree with the subject. It can be attached to the gerund, and the gerund is your ando or your yendo, which is part of the present progressive, or you can just use the gerund sort of in and of itself, but that's what that is. And then it can be attached to the infinitive, which is an unconjugated verb, just in case anybody forgot what that word meant. So that's like bailar, vivir, hablar, comprar, whatever verb we want to use, but it's just unconjugated. So that's the infinitive. And then the fourth place, which isn't relevant to this, but I guess it's worth mentioning, that it can be attached to an affirmative command. And so that's, whether it's an informal or formal command, it doesn't matter. It's an affirmative command. So we could say, kind of building off of this one, or using this as an example, pásame la pelota, so pass me the ball. Notice the me gets put on the back end. Or escúchenme, like you guys aren't listening, say escúchenme. And so I put that me at the end. That's a sort of a formal you all affirmative command. So ustedes and ustedes command. So escúchenme, right? And so I put that pronoun, attach it to the end of that command. And but anyways, those are the four reasons. And like I said, this one really isn't relevant for today, but it's worth having up there. And so I want to bring your attention over here to the pronouns themselves. Again, we've already gone over the direct object pronouns, so you're very well aware of them. And of course, in the third person for the direct object pronouns, which is going to be different from the indirect object pronouns, is that here, as you can see, right, the third person singular and plural is concerned with number and gender. So this noun, to use lo, would mean that the direct object noun was singular and masculine. And then likewise here, it would be singular but feminine. So la mochila, for example, this would be el libro, or it could be ella, or Sonia, or it could be Luis. So it doesn't have to just be, say, like a book bag or a book or something. It could be a person, but it would be a single masculine or single feminine individual, if that were the case. So, and then over here for the plural, again, it's got to be plural masculine for los, and then plural feminine for las. So that could be like las mochilas or los libros. So that becomes plural. So plural masculine, plural feminine. Now on this end, as you can see, these pronouns are actually the same. They're the same word. How they're used is what we're going to discuss today. So they're used differently, even though clearly those are the same spelling, same words, same pronouns, right? And you'll even see these pop up again or resurface for reflexive pronouns. So, but the most important part is understanding how we use these. Now, on the indirect object pronoun side, as you can see, whereas here there's 4, there's only 2 here. And so for indirect object pronouns, we're only concerned with number and not gender. So we're only concerned with singular or plural. So if it's third person singular, we'll use this one. If it's third person plural, we'll use this one. So we're not concerned with its gender, only the number. And so anyways, we'll have a look here and hopefully it'll make more sense. So we've got number 1. And what I want to do is walk through these sentences with you in Spanish, identify actually the direct object noun and the indirect object noun, but the goal for today is to convert the indirect object noun into an indirect object pronoun. So we're going to focus on that. Now, can you convert both into pronouns? Of course you can. That's just considered or called a double object pronoun, which we're not going to work on that today. So again, the focus for today is to convert an indirect object noun into an indirect object pronoun. So let's see what we got here. So we have yo pido la comida al mesero. So this is just saying I ask for or order, of course. That's really its translation into English, but pedir as a verb means to ask for. And so yo pido la comida al mesero. Now we have here a combination of the prepositional phrase or the letter A and then el for el mesero. And so when you bring those two together, the definite article el and then it becomes al, right? And so that's why we have al mesero. Now, yo pido la comida al mesero. So again, to ask yourself the question, what is the verb, right? The verb is pedir, order or ask for, or I order, I ask for. What are we ordering or asking for? Well, that's la comida. We're ordering la comida. So that is our direct object noun. It is what is directly receiving the action of the verb. And so that's our direct object noun. Now we've already worked on converting those last class, so we're not going to worry about that right now. But we're more concerned with the to whom or for whom, which is how we'll find and identify the indirect object noun. And so, yo pido la comida, I ask for or order the food. To whom or for whom am I ordering or asking for the food? Well, that's the mesero, the waiter, or the server. So that then becomes our indirect object noun, right? And so let me do this one, and then I'll go back, and then we're going to walk through all of them and convert all the indirect object nouns into pronouns. Tú envías una carta a tu novia, and I'm going to do this as a bit I'm going to walk through it like this as well, just so we can really get have another example of how to break this sentence apart. And so, tú envías una carta a tu novia. You send a card or a letter to your girlfriend. And so our subject is tú, right? And then our verb is envías, which comes from enviar, right? And that's our verb, envías. We'll mark that on the V. Una carta a tu novia. So enviar is to send. What is being sent? Well, a letter is being sent. So that becomes our direct object noun, right? Tú envías una carta to whom? ¿A quién? To whom or for whom, right? In this case, of course, to whom. And that is to your girlfriend. And so this A functions as effectively a prepositional phrase, but it binds this individual, this person, if you will, to the sentence. And so in this case, we have the prepositional phrase a, and then we have tu novia, which is binding or holding the indirect object noun to the sentence. So, but if we don't feel like looking at it in those sort of weird terms, we can just go back and say, okay, well, what's the subject? You, tú. What's the verb? Envías, send, you send. What is being sent? Well, the card or letter is being sent, and so that's our direct object noun. It is directly affected or directly receiving the action of the verb. So we've got our direct object noun, and then the for whom or to whom, which, of course, to use this word, is indirectly affected by all of this. And so you send the letter to whom? To your girlfriend. And so Again, we'll break all this down in just a second, but notice how the direct object is still there. It's not like we learn direct objects and then we put it over here and move on. It's still in the sentence. So let's have a look at how we rewrite this and replace the noun with the pronoun. And so again, like I said, today we're concerning ourselves with the indirect objects. And so same rules apply, as you know. You can see them right here. And so let's just rewrite it. So we have Joe, right? What will this become as an indirect object pronoun? Well, it's third person and it's singular. So it's going to be right here, right? And so we rewrite it, yo le pido la comida, right? Simple as that. And notice that we're opting to put it between the subject and the conjugated verb. Yo le pido la comida. Now, of course, if it were ambiguous and we didn't know who we were ordering or asking for the food from, then you can always you can be extremely redundant if you want and sort of bring that back around on the tail end of things. You could say, yo le pido la comida al mesero, because in Spanish we can be redundant. And so it's not wrong to do that. You don't have to do that if we know who we're talking about. And that's sort of the goal of a conversion from a noun to a pronoun, like it's already understood. So we would say, I asked or I order the food from him. So that's sort of the way it would be translated. Now let's look at this one and then knock out the rest. Tú envías una carta a tu novia. So now we see novia, we recognize that's a female, right, girlfriend, but we don't care because as the indirect object noun, when we want to turn it into a pronoun, we're just concerned with number. And so it's singular, third person, so it's le. So it's le again. So we have tú le envías una carta, right? Now, again, if you want to put this in here, a tu novia, if you want, if it were ambiguous as to who you're sending a letter to, you could always do that, but there's no need since we're converting it right now. That's sort of the goal of today, is to figure out how to convert it, not add extra stuff to the word, so to the sentence. So we have tú le envías una carta, and so this is being replaced with that. And so that's how we rewrite this, replacing the noun or the indirect object noun with an indirect object pronoun. So let's move along here. We have ellos pasan la pelota de fútbol a mí. So la pelota de fútbol, that's the noun for soccer ball. And so they pass, ellos pasan. Well, what's the verb? The verb is pass, or they pass in this case. What are they passing? Well, they're passing la pelota de fútbol. So again, that's our direct object noun. Well, to whom or for whom, right? And of course, you would say to who. And well, that's to me, right? They're passing the soccer ball to me. A mí, again, attached with the prepositional phrase. So it's sort of binding me, if you will, or me to the sentence. So, and so what is our pronoun equivalent for this, right? It would be me. And so let's rewrite it. Ellos me pasan la pelota de fútbol. Right? There you go. And so now we have ellos me pasan la pelota de fútbol. And you don't need a mí, right? It's understood. And so we have here, and again, conjugated verb, putting that pronoun before the conjugated verb. So in between the subject pronoun in this case and the conjugated verb. So number 4, nosotros estamos dando el dinero a ellos. Check this out. We've got present progressive here because I want you to see how to use it with a gerund. So nosotros estamos dando el dinero a ellos. All right. Well, what's the verb? Or in this case, series of verbs. Let's put a little bow on that. Nosotros estamos dando el dinero. So what's the verb? Give, right? So it's built in here. Giving. Well, what is being given? Well, the money is being given. To whom? A ellos. All right? Again, third person, but now it's third person plural. So now they become a ellos, or ellos becomes le. So let's rewrite this. I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing it. So we've got nosotros estamos dándoles el dinero. Okay, so here's way number one, and we're going to put an accent on there. So nosotros estamos, let's make sure you see that's an A, right? That's an A, not an E. Nosotros estamos dándoles, right? So now this all becomes one word, el dinero. Now there's another way, and let's write it in red. And so we would do, again, we just opted for option 2 on this one, right? Now we're going to opt for option 1, which is always an option for the most part, right? And so we'll do nosotros, les, right? So subject pronoun, or an indirect object pronoun, estamos dando el dinero. Either one is fine, right? That's your choice. But you have two options when you have a gerund, right? And so we have nosotros estamos dándoles el dinero, or nosotros les estamos dando el dinero. So, so let's finish off here. Notice that we have the use of ir plus a plus infinitive, right? Or ir plus a plus infinitive, ir más a más infinitivo, if you want to say it in Spanish, right? And so that is just saying going to, and in this case, going to send. So, usted va, going, a mandar, notice an infinitive right there, el paquete a nosotros. So what is the verb? The verb is mandar, which means to send. So you, usted, so you formal, va a mandar. What are you going to send? Well, el paquete. So el paquete becomes our direct object noun. To whom, right? To whom is this package being sent? Well, to nosotros, a nosotros, right? Again, the prepositional phrase, bonding this indirect object noun to the sentence, right? And again, so let's have a look up here. So for a nosotros, this is our pronoun, nos. So let's rewrite this, and let's look at two ways we can do this. And so we, just to stay consistent, A will be green, B will be red. So we'll go with usted va a mandarnos el paquete. We don't need a nosotros. Mandarnos, right? All right, and then we'll go with letter B here, and let's put it usted nos va a mandar el paquete. So there you have it. So we have, again, on the other two options, again, we have here the infinitive. Now, I want to draw your attention to one last thing. Notice that we have mandarnos, but no accent. But here we have dándoles, for example, with an accent. So if it is a gerund and you attach a pronoun, whether double or single object pronoun, you're going to put an accent over that A for the ando or the E for the iendo. However, that's not the case for adding a pronoun to an infinitive. If it's a single object pronoun, like mandarnos, for example, we don't put an accent on it. If it's a double object pronoun, however, we do put an accent on it. So that would be two pronouns attached here. And I won't bother with an example today because we'll do that on a different day. But if there were one, you would put the accent over here, right? And so it would go over the A of the AR verb, the E of the ER verb, and the I of the IR verb. And so again, we'll deal with that on a different day. But in closing, you now can see how to convert, well, one, how to identify direct object nouns and indirect object nouns, and then how to convert that indirect object noun, much like we did in a different class with direct object nouns, convert them into pronouns, and then place them in the sentence. And again, as you can see, the same reasons that apply to direct object pronoun placement are going to apply to indirect object pronoun placement. And will apply to reflexive pronoun placement too, but that's not up here. So hopefully this made sense, and thanks for watching.